Hi, I'm Madison and welcome back to my channel. Today I have some romance recommendations that are super overhyped, but are actually worth it. So I don't know if you're like me, but whenever I see romance books that are like promoted all the time, like they're always on TikTok and I'm seeing everyone talk about them and everyone's like, oh my god, I love this. I'm like, but really? Like, is it really that good? Like, I get so terrified of overhyped romance books. Like, I actually avoid them because I'm so afraid I'll read them and not like them, and then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be the Wicked Witch of the West being like, you love that book, but I don't. And then people are gonna hate me, and I don't want that. So like, it terrifies me. However, over the last like 2 years, this is not a comprehensive video at all, but I have read a bunch of like the really popular like TikTok books, and these are some of the ones that I think are definitely worth the hype. In this first video here, I'm just gonna give you six that I think are like ones that are majorly hyped up that are definitely worth it, and the reasons why I think they are. So I'm gonna start this with one of my babes, someone who I love to death and I think is not a surprise for me to put on this list. That is gonna be Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. I've read Sophie from the very beginning, and to see her kind of pop off on all the different social medias has made me so happy. I started her when I read ɪvān back in 2021, which is part of her Underworld Mafia romance series, but the series that is most popular on TikTok, the one that is most overhyped everywhere, is obviously Brutal Prince, which is the first book in her Brutal Birthright series. That being said, I do have an entire video here on my channel that is an author guide to Sophie Lark, so it actually explains how to read all of her books in order, so you can check that out if you're curious. The Brutal Birthright series follows primarily the children of the Gallos and the Griffin family. Now, the Gallos are the Italian mafia in Chicago, and the Griffins are the Irish mob in Chicago. So you've got Ada and you've got Callum. Now, Ada is the youngest of the Gallo children. She is also the only female daughter of the Gallo family, and Callum is the eldest of the Griffin family and is actually the heir. So it is a slight age gap between the two of them. And what ends up happening is Ada ends up actually setting fire to the Griffin family library, and it ends up kind of starting a war between the children. So in order to avoid this from happening, the dads end up setting up an arranged marriage between Ada and Callum to get married. Now, the two of them are full-on enemies. They do not like each other. They do not want to be together, and this is their arranged marriage, enemies to lovers romance. They try and literally sabotage each other's lives at all stops. It is honestly so iconic between the two of them. It has a gorgeous sexy shower scene in it. It has a hilarious wedding scene. If you know the wedding scene and you know the strawberries, you know where I'm talking about, and it is iconic. It is one of the most iconic book scenes you will read in your entire life, hands down. This is just such a fun one. It's not my favorite in this series, but it is like such a staple when it comes to mafia romances, and it's definitely not overhyped. I love this series to death. I love Ada and Callum. I think Ada is one of the best characters ever. She is such a headstrong badass bitch. If you have not read this yet, I honestly don't know what you're doing, especially if you're on my channel and you haven't read Sophie Lark. Bruh, choices. Next we have the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. This series, guys, the second it popped off on TikTok, I read it right away, and I read it in a weekend, literally in a weekend. It was this is one of the most addictive, most bingeable series you will read in your entire life. This is one of the quintessential like serial killer romances to date, especially because it is more of a serial killer romance than like a smutty romance. The smut is actually not that heavy in this series, but I think surprises a lot of people. People go into this thinking it's going to be like super dark and spicy, but the dark aspect of this is from the serial killering, not from the sex, which is quite a surprise for a lot of people because it's more so about this vigilante serial killer than it is about her banging this dude. So what you got here is Logan and Lana. Lana is a female serial killer. She is, living her day-to-day life, but she is actually out there murdering men who she is trying to get revenge on from her past life. And then you've got Logan, who is a FBI agent who is trying to track down this serial killer who is murdering men. And what would you know? The serial killer is Lana. Now, Lana and Logan end up meeting one day in a coffee shop, hitting it off, and end up having a romance. So they're dating each other, but he has no idea that this woman that he's dating is the same woman he's trying to like track down. And it is absolutely priceless. It is so amazing. It is so unhinged at times as well. It literally feels like you're reading Sexy Criminal Minds, and I cannot get over it. It is absolutely phenomenal. One of the best. Like, I want to reread this, to be quite honest with you. Like, It is unlike anything. Like, it is so quintessential. It is like the hallmark serial killer romance. And like Lana's just amazing, dudes. Like, she literally cuts off a dude's dingling and shoves it down his throat. Like, bruh, this girl, iconic. I swear, I love it to death. Next, I'm going to give you an overhyped romance book that I avoided for 2 years because of the fact that it is overhyped. So this is one that I'm pretty sure if you're watching this video, you have for sure read, but I took forever to read this because I don't know, I didn't think I would like it, or like everyone was talking, I don't know. I didn't read it because everyone was talking about it, and I was like, I don't want to read it if everyone's talking about it. And then like, it kind of died down, no one's talking about it as much anymore. But then I was kind of like, well, now I haven't read it and everyone's talking about it, so like, well, you know. Yeah, Love Hypothesis. Did I love it? The tabs will tell you the answer is yes. I loved the absolute shit out of this. You have no idea. Oh, lol, my Polygon stuff is in here. This book. Now, I love this book for many reasons, but the main reason why I love this book is because I went to college for science, and so science is something that, you know, doing labs and things like that is something that I very much understand, and science humor is something that I do get, and this book is full of so much science humor. I loved it. I loved all the science jokes in this. It made my day. So you've got Olive, who is a third-year PhD student, and then you've got Adam, who is a hotshot professor in her PhD program. And what ends up happening is Olive has been telling her best friend that she is dating someone because Olive's best friend would like to date Olive's ex. However, Olive's best friend feels bad about dating Olive's ex. So Olive is like, oh, it's fine. I'm completely over him. I'm actually dating someone new. And her best friend is like, oh, really? Like, I didn't think that. And so Olive panics at one point and kisses the first person she sees in order to convince her friend that that is her boyfriend. And who would you guess that would be? None other than Professor Adam Carlson, who is actually hated by everyone because he's known as being a super hard ass in the PhD program. And so Olive ends up asking him to fake date her in order to, you know, let her friend do her thing, and Adam agrees because he says that he also needs to fake date someone in order to get a grant from the university. And so the two of them embark on this fake dating relationship. It is so much fun. It is so hilarious. It's also adorable because like he's actually been in love with her since he first met her and she has no idea. And it is just so cute. It is so worth the hype. I was so surprised. This is like the most quintessential book of me being like, it's overhyped but worth it 100%. Next I'm gonna get, oh fuck me. Next I'm gonna give you Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This is a really unique book because I actually read this like 2 or 3 weeks after it came out, before anyone was actually reading it and talking about it. And it was really funny to watch. Like, I think it was like 6 months later, it started like really popping up. Hooked is the first book in the Never After series, which is a series of books that are based on like different like Disney things. And this is obviously Wendy and Captain Hook. So this is a contemporary reimagining of them, and it's actually kind of mafia criminal underworld based. And the reason why I really love this book and the reason why it stands out to me so much is actually because this is the first book I read that really delved into breath play as a kink, and it stuck with me. I read this book and I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I was like, wow, but like it was really good, but I've read better like criminal underworld books, better mafia books, because this was back when I was literally reading mafia romances like it was popcorn. Like every single day was a new mafia romance for me. And I was like, oh, it's not really up there. The thing is, this book stayed with me for like a month. I'd finished this book and a month later, I was still thinking about it. So I bumped it up to a 5 stars because I was like, this book would not leave my brain. Like the scenes in it, the iconicness of it was just everlasting. And so that's why I think it's not overhyped, because it's just so amazing in that sense. And I just love James Hook. Like, he's so hot. He's British too, which I think everyone forgets that James Hook in this is British. Like, imagine this tattooed man's, oh my God, this tattooed British man's, I'm dead. Wendy is, you know, this very young, naive girl. She thinks that her dad's like her entire world and doesn't know that her dad is, you know, the reason why James's whole family died. And so James is trying to get revenge on her dad by dating Wendy. Is his whole like point of this. And so it was so much fun. It was so enjoyable. It's also a really great beginner introduction into dark romances because it's not really that dark. It's kind of like dark light. You know, it's a great like introduction baby book for people who maybe don't know if they would like dark romances. This is like a very nice foray into it because it doesn't get too intense with the scenes that you do read. So Yes. Next we have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is one of the most ultimate grumpy sunshine happiness books you will ever read. Now, I say that because this book is like an instant shot of serotonin to your veins. You could be in a reading slump, you pick this up, you will feel 17 times better. I have never been so happy as when I read this book. It did so much specialness to me. This isn't actually that spicy as well, which I think a lot of people think going into this, it's going to be like a total smut fest. And it's not, which is quite surprising. So you've got Rowan and Zara. Now this whole series follows the Kane brothers, and the Kane brothers are the heirs to basically what is a Disney conglomerate known as Dreamland. In order for the three brothers to inherit their portion of the will, in order to inherit their portion of Dreamland, in order to take it over their father, they have to actually each meet a specific stipulation that their grandfather gave them in the will. And so for Rowan, his stipulation in the will is that he has to become the creative director of Dreamland and stay there for 6 months and create a new ride. And so he ends up going to Dreamland. He doesn't really want to be there. He doesn't want to be the creative director. He ends up meeting Zara. Now, Zara is someone who has just been promoted to the creative team at Dreamland. It's always been her dream to create rides, and she instantly butts heads with Rowan because he is so cynical and so grumpy and grouchy, and she's just complete utter sunshine. She sees the absolute world, the most amazing things when it comes to Dreamland, and he just doesn't see that. He comes from it from such like a very like stoic and strict like technical standpoint, and she's like, you can't be like that. You gotta like really love it and embrace it. And so they sort of super at odds. They then end up having this whole like hidden identity thing where she starts texting this guy for help, not knowing that the guy is Rowan, and so she ends up kind of forming this friendship with Rowan, not realizing that it's the same person. And so it's a really, really cute romance. I love the two of them together. I thought it was absolutely adorable, and the things that he does for her, swoon worthy. Not only that, but she invites him to go bowling for shits and giggles and doesn't like think much of it. She's like, oh, he'll never come bowling. He's like this rich CEO, like billionaire dude. He rocks up to the bowling alley with his own bowling ball and bowling shoes, and she goes, what were you, in the varsity bowling team in college? And he goes, actually, I was. We won the championship like 4 times. And she was like, what the fuck? She was like, are you serious right now? And he's like, yes, take me seriously. I died. It was so hilarious. He also, you know, obviously buys her like beautiful dresses and all these like all the gorgeous things that come from like billionaire romances. And yeah, no, it was just totally worth it. Like 100% worth the hype. Like not even funny, like totally is. If you want to see more recommendations that are overhyped but totally work it, please make sure that you click the like button down below and subscribe to my channel, because that lets me know that you would like to see more of these videos, because I do have more overhyped book recommendations that I have read that I think are definitely worth it. And yeah, like I said, if you did enjoy this video, please slap them down below. If you want to see more of me, please go to my channel. That's it. Until next time, thanks so much everyone. Bye-bye.